Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing? Let's see. Okay, well, let's see, anybody in there? Let me share out the stream. Again, maybe. And let's see. And how you guys? Hey, Cool Skull, how you doing? So, I did send the link out to a few people. We'll see if they show up. Um, Let me send this out one more time. Okay, so well, I'm glad you do. I uh I was working a little bit today trying to break through my writer's block. So I was going to talk about that a little bit. I was going to talk about a few more story ideas maybe, and then you know, let if I can get some people in, maybe get a couple of people to tell a few stories of their own, you know. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so okay, that's great. Um So if you know anything about the House of Cain, the problem I'm having right now is that I am trying to switch point of views to the Kit, who is a female character. She's also she, or it's spelled it's the spelling for she, which is the Gaelic or Celtic form of the word fairy. Um, Hey, PJ, thank you. Your stream was great tonight, this afternoon. I loved it. Um, but so what I did was I wrote 5 chapters, 10 episodes on House of Cain from Jackson Cain's point of view. That now that I've got a really good grasp on that character, I'm switching the point of view to the secondary character, Kitsune, who is female. And I think I intimidated myself because writing a female character first person is really difficult for a man to do because of the inner thought process. So I'm going to show you here in a minute just what I did so far, and then we'll see if anybody else wants to join in or see what you guys think. Let me share. Let me pull up. Okay. So let me give you a little background first. The the Oh yeah, thank you, PJ. I'm not sure I got a wrench, but this is only like my third live stream ever. So, um, let me see here. I'm not even sure how to do that. Let's see. There we go. There's my channel. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I've had StreamYards for a while, but I haven't really played with it too much, so I'm not sure how to do how to make people wrenches and stuff. So, um, so the last episode, Jackson Kane, and Kit and Shadow Walker and the and Mac and Dragmare, they confronted a witch and a group of werewolves, and Jackson was hurt very badly. So when we pick up, we're going to start off where they've got him back to his cabin or whatever, and they've got him in bed. So the purpose of writing these characters, oh yeah, I do, don't I? The purpose of writing the first person characters in this first draft as I'm going is so that when I am done and I go back and I rewrite in third person, I know all the characters inside and out so that they feel more realistic. So the problem I've been having is the internal. I understand how a woman thinks from my external point of view as a man, but I have no idea how a woman thinks from her internal thought process. Uh, I just don't think it's possible. So I'm going to read. Now, this is very, very rough. I just wrote it this afternoon. This is the Three Queens. And I have an outline. I don't have much written. I have only about 3 pages written, but I have a little guide, a little couple of few notes for guiding the rest of this. I usually have an idea of where I want it to go, and then I let the characters take it to where it goes. So this is chapter 6. It's going to be called The Three Queens, and this is what I have so far. We carried my Jackson to his bed. I could feel his pain, the soul-burning fire of his confusion, as well as the ache of ripping physical pain that ran through his body. The pup lay cuddled next to him as he lay unconscious. I shifted without thought. What's happening? I thought. I am she, a spirit of mischief, and she were supposed to be able to control their emotions. And yet, emotion overwhelmed me. The shift helped, though I could still the ache of my Jackson's pain in the vaults of my mind. I crawled over to lay on the other side of my Jackson from the pup. Kit, the Mac's voice came out of the hallway. I growled, not ready to shift. My Jackson's pain was too much, and it was overwhelming me. Like fires of shame and ripped flesh, though he had healed much, my Jackson lay dreaming dark dreams, dreams I dared not enter. Kit, Mac's voice came again, urgent. The queens are here, and they say only you can let them in to help. I shifted back, but it took a moment before I could foresee emotions that were alien to me from my consciousness. Both? I asked, curious as why the Winter Queen would have come as well as my mother. Mac was silent for a moment. There are 3 of them, Kit. I rushed to the door where my mother and both my aunts stood in the door. My mother, Anare, the queen of the summer realm, Nene, the queen of the winter realm, and Anissa, the lady of the wild hunt, her antlered head nodding to me as she caught my eyes. Kit, Anare said, her face as grim as I'd ever seen it. You must invite us in. We cannot aid your mate. I bowed first to my mother, Anare, then to my aunt, the Winter Queen, and finally, the Lady of the Wild Hunt. My Jackson cannot invite you in. He is unconscious. Child, the Queen of Winter stated with contempt, are you not his mate, his bonded? She looked around, holding her arms out wide. Is this is it not the law of this land that is what is yours is his and his is yours? If I retained my hackles, they would have risen at her tone. That's true, Kit, Mac said. I do not care, stupid child, if you care for my tone, the Queen of Winter began, causing me to bare my teeth and growl, forcing power into my voice. Sister, the lady of the hunt, her said, anger in her voice, you will be kind or you will taste my blade. The Winter Queen took a step back and lifted her arms as if to focus her power and attack. My mother stepped toward her and grabbed her wrist. Enough. We are not here for this, and you agreed. Would you break obligation now? The Dark Queen of Winter let her hands drop, and she nodded, the icy flames dwindling in her eyes. Indeed, this can wait, but it will not be forgotten, child. So that's what I have so far. Um, well, I appreciate it, PJ. That's what I have so far, and then uh, come to find out that the queens tell him that there's a witch actually attacking him in his dreams and have him locked down. Um, and then the queens stabilize him, but it'll be up to Mac and Kit to go and find the witch. They'll the rest of this chapter will bleed over into the next episode of the chapter. Um, so they'll have to find the witch. They find out it's not Alice, which is the one of the main baddies. They have to be somewhere close because witches don't have enough power in order to do this long distance, and she's using either his blood or a piece of his genetic material to do it. So this chapter leads into them confronting the witch and killing her, and then getting back to Jackson, and then they have to figure out what's actually going on. So that's what I have so far. Anybody can let me know what you think. Let's see here. Have see. Sorry, I'm looking for my other list. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, so I've got a few more stories that I'm going to ring up with, and then if anyone wants to suggest a few topics you want to talk about, if they're even if they're not writing oriented, that's okay. So I'm working on one. I'm working on a project. Probably at the middle of this month, it'll be ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do basically a one-man show live storytelling thing where I'm gonna dress up in robes. I'm gonna do an actual like a storyteller would if they were in the Middle Ages traveling from village to village. And the story I've chosen to do is I've written a little Native American kind of tall tale, which is what these things usually are like. They're usually the tall tale kind of thing, like Pecos Bill or Paul Bunyan, um, John Henry, that sort of thing. So the idea is that um, it is time for this all takes place before the Europeans came, and the Native Americans had no idea about the Spanish, or that there was anything outside of their lovely world. And what I want to detail in this is their connection to the spirit of the land, and how they revere, much like most First Peoples and tribal peoples, is they have this connection to Gaia, or the land, or nature itself. And the idea is that this brave is the chief's son, but he is scrawny. He was sickly when he was born. He's scrawny. He's not big enough to actually do the challenge. And the challenge is that all the young braves are to go out and hunt by themselves and bring something back. And those who do bring something back will get their names and become warriors of the tribe and hunters. But everybody feels that the main character is too couldn't do it by himself. He would need help, and therefore can't go. His father denies him the ability to go, tells him he's going to have to wait until he's grown more. And the kid sneaks out in the middle of the night and goes and does it anyway. Now, my idea is that instead of hunting down a deer or something, he accidentally ends up in a confrontation with a large bear, grizzly bear or something. Something that I can describe as being so massive it's unreal. And it turns out not to be the bear itself, but the great spirit, the great bear spirit, and how his bravery was what the the whole point of his trial was to be. And he comes back riding the bear, and he becomes one of the greatest chiefs, and ends up fighting the invaders when they come. So that's that story that I'm going to do. I tend to have a lot of really short flash ideas, but most of my ideas end up growing into something exponential. Um, and I end up having to do long form, if that makes sense. Um, so the way I work, and I know not everybody, so people who write will tell you this is the way to do it. I ain't trying to tell people this is the way I do it, because not everybody does it the same way. I mean, I start off with an outline, but I don't stick to it, and it's a very, very general outline. I have an idea of where I want the story to go, but I'm what is called a pantser. Uh, and a pantser is somebody who focuses on character-driven stories, pretty much. What I do is I create the characters as real as I possibly can. This because I do it this way, it takes me an inordinate amount of time. So, hey, Captain Trek, how you doing? So I take the character, and I kind of go through, and I think of somebody that I know that I want this character to kind of be like, somebody I know very, very well. And then I change certain aspects of their personality, give them foibles and things that are not the same as the person I'm modeling after. And then I write several stories, even if they never see the light of day, first person from point of view from that character's standpoint, so that I know the character, I know his thoughts, I know his reaction to outside stimulus before I even start writing the story. And so I do that, and then I once I understand the character, I put them in the situation and let them just go. And when they don't hit the the target I'm shooting for, sometimes it's actually a much better story anyway. Because plot is good, and people who plot aren't bad writers, and those stories can be great. I believe Cujo was a plotted book. Um, Stephen King, The Stand, for example, is a a character-driven book. He created the characters and then wrote it from there. Whereas like Cujo, or what's another good one for him? It was No, it was also character driven, but what am I thinking? Things like Maximum Overdrive, The Shining, things like that are plot. But The Stand and things, what he did was he created the characters, he put them in situations, they reacted the way they did. Now this does cause writer's block. It is very easy for pantsers to grab, hey Sci-Fi Nation, how you doing? It's very easy for pantsers, people who write from a character's standpoint totally, and see where it goes, to get stuck. For example, Stephen King tells a story of how when he got to the point in The Stand where you have both groups together, and you've got the group of the good guys in Colorado, the light, and the bad guys in Vegas, the dark. The good guys were just starting it up all over again. They were turning the power back on. They were going back to their old ways. And so he was stuck. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to make the characters do what he wanted them to do. So I think he said he was stuck for about 6 months. And then one day he was just sitting in the park and it just came to him, I'll just blow a bunch of them up and force them out of it. And it turned out to be one of the greatest character moments in that novel. Now, I have an issue where I do spend way too much time in my own little world. All right, let's see. Hey, Mariah.
Meow.
Mora. How do you pronounce your name? I always tongue tie it.
Mora.
Mora. Okay. I always want to pronounce the I.
Everybody does. Like it. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like Irish names are weird. Like that's probably one of the more simple Irish names. There's some really
Yeah.
weird ones that you just be
Well,
like.
my name's Irish too because it's Jackie. And my last name is Sisk, and our family crest comes from Cork.
Ooh. I've heard they're hard to understand down in Cork.
Yeah, I had planned to go this summer, but COVID stuff. I'm not paying ten
I was
thousand
looking for a
dollars.
cruise to take me to like Scotland and Ireland, and oh my god, the prices they want. I'm like, oh my
Well,
god,
you
I'm
know
stuck in this
why?
fucking country
Because
forever.
when you get there, you have to pay $10,000 to quarantine for 14 days before you can start your trip.
That's weird because when I was reading up on it, they didn't make any mention of that.
Yeah, you got to. It's on the
Why would
UK
I pay
website.
$10,000 for that?
Yeah, they want to put you up in a hotel for. It's the government too. It's not.
They can
It's
put
not.
me up in a fucking hotel.
Yeah. So it'll probably be next summer, but I'm gonna take my kid and we're gonna go see it. And
Yeah,
then
my daughter told me though, like, Mom, relax. Maybe it'll be better next year. I'm like, things don't ever get better. In case you
yeah,
haven't noticed, my for 13, she's awfully optimistic.
yeah. I still got my COVID beard. I'm growing it out until the lockdowns are over. So
Yeah, I decided to shave mine.
uh, I
It's an
just
old joke, but everyone always told me I look more like my dad than my mom, like nose, facial structure, and whatnot. And so we'd always joke like, "You look so much like your dad." Like, yeah, even more so when I don't shave. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, and it's just to mess with them.
yeah, my son might come in here in just a second. He's gonna go to his brother's, but
Yeah, I know how that is. My daughter is over at her with her stepsisters.
well, they're I think they're gonna play D&D again tonight. I'm
Uh,
invited. I just got to get a laptop because the game they want me to play in is on Thursday nights, and that's my first night of work. So I have to have a laptop with me to work while we're doing it. But yeah, so I wanted to specifically talk to you about the the project you just finished and uploaded, the dream sequence.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I got flashbacks to kind of a cross between Dreamscape and
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
Dream, or is it Dreamscape? Yeah,
I've
come on
heard of
in
a
here, bud.
story called Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Yeah, it's Stephen King.
Uh,
And
I'm not a huge fan of his, to be honest. He's kind of a
well,
dick.
Dreamscape, the idea was that the scientists were traveling into other people's dreams to interpret them.
Oh
And they
shit,
got
that
stuck
sounds
in
so
there and
weird.
it and it was like an alternate reality, and there were monsters in there. So they're going in and fighting the monsters
I
from
was
the
considering
nightmares.
having like hands come from around a door, but
Yeah.
we weren't able to shoot in a hospital. Like I was trying
Right.
to find a floor that nobody was using and possibly have like a hand try to grab the person, but it didn't work out that way. So
Well,
we
you
had to
found a good
improvise.
location. It did seem maybe not as hospital like as a hospital, but it did seem that sterile kind of environment.
Yeah, we were super lucky because it turns out the tunnels under OKC, which like you can Google that, and
Yeah.
like different halls have different colors and different lights, and I was like, dude, yes. And it wasn't, and it had almost nobody there at the time, thankfully, because we were gonna have to like stop filming for a second, and then yeah, so like I had to kind of try to blend the images so it looks like she's just running forever and ever, even though nobody's gonna want to sit there and watch like 20 minutes of somebody just running through halls. Like nobody's gonna do
All right.
that. So
I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Let me bring this picture up
and
here.
I hate being in my own movies. I fucking hate it. That's why like
So
as soon as I could, you see me just leave scene like nope. Like I was like, okay, bye. I hate it.
so this is in my town. This
Oh,
is
dude,
a
that looks great.
this is a abandoned orphanage from the 20s or 30s, and
Awesome.
I'm gonna sneak in there one night and get a bunch of stock footage, and I'm gonna
Oh, that looks
get
fabulous. Oh wow.
and I'm gonna write a flash horror and hire me a little actress to just get chased through it, basically, kind of Blair Witch style.
Ah, that
Like,
looks wild, man. That looks great.
yeah,
We have some places like that, but like a couple of them are like either really far from where I'm at, like they're out like way some other town that I like wouldn't even know how to find.
yeah,
Or like there's one up in Guthrie and they have it fenced off. And it was
right,
supposed to be like a haunted hospital or something. Like it used to be an orphanage or it was a mental I think it was a mental asylum. That's what it was. It was like an old
right.
mental asylum, which just screams Ghost Chasers or whatever that movie is or TV show. And
I tried to get a permit to do it, but
oh,
they won't let me.
I,
So
I I always joke that I rather like ask for forgiveness and ask for permission.
yeah, I mean it's just fenced off. It's off away from the highway a little bit. They wouldn't if somebody ever saw me in there, they would just come and tell me to leave.
Yeah,
That's what they did
probably.
when we were kids and we went out there to smoke and drink. So,
No, that's kids though. Like they might have a little more sympathy for kids. You and
but if
me,
they
we get
see me
thrown in
with a
jail.
video camera, they're not gonna be upset. This is rural Texas. They'll just
Oh,
tell me
fair
to
enough.
leave.
I keep
Yeah,
forgetting you're in Texas.
if I was in like New York or Chicago or something,
Oh yeah, God, they probably shoot you.
well, I get that they're much more liable. If I tried to sue the city because I went into this building and got hurt, they would just laugh at me. In Chicago, they would hear the case, right? So it's but I'm gonna do that once it warms up a little bit, and then uh but we'll see what happens. This is an inspiring place if you walk around it.
And
It's
that
really
was
cool.
fun. I think we got a few places like that. I think there's some places in like Henrietta,
Yeah,
Okarche. There's some few places that were like orphanages because some of
yeah,
Oklahoma's, and it might be in other places too, but at least in Oklahoma, some of its ugly history is that the state would take, well, state territory, whatever, whoever was in charge,
yeah.
would take Native American children away from their parents to teach them English and modernize them, so to speak, in orphanages. And you can probably imagine that a lot of times they weren't treated so well, on top of the fact they were taken from their parents.
Right.
And so there's a few old abandoned schools for that was those. They were schools slash orphanages, even though they weren't actually orphans. They were stolen from their families
Right.
to help to get rid of their culture.
Well, and a lot of the stuff that happened during that time was to steal the kids to redistribute people because they were too poor to have 10 kids.
Right.
I mean, uh, I have family members that went through that, like
Oh,
distant family members. that were from Tennessee and Alabama. But yeah, I mean, my I did a lot of research. I did the whole genetic test thing. I'm 90% Celtic,
Nice.
2% African from Central Africa, and the rest is Italian.
I've
Or
never gotten DNA
some
tests.
Italian,
I
some
don't like the idea of
Sicilian.
someone having all my DNA information. It makes me kind of feels kind of janky.
Well, it confirms a lot of stuff that my uncle found out through Ancestry, that our Irish ancestor was an indentured servant. He was a debtor. He was sold into basically slavery.
Yikes.
And indentured servitude, people, that's different. It was a contract. They had to take care of him, blah, blah. It's the same thing. Because when when he got to the end where he's nearly working it off, they were adding what he owed for room and board.
Ugh.
So he would never work. He never worked it off. And they laid it on his kid.
That's fun.
So, um, that his son ended up paying it off, and he married a runaway slave from Alabama. And then they just, my uncle says that they just went to the middle of nowhere and lived and raised their family.
I don't blame them. I'd want to
So,
leave too. Like that.
and then I don't know how we ended up in Texas. That's probably a much longer story. But, but yeah, I mean, people talk about the slavery that went on years and years and years. I mean, while that was going on, white people were enslaved too in the North.
Like there's been like some form of slavery for a long time in all kinds of different
Well,
parts of
I
the
mean, if you go back to it, some of our ancestors were slaves to the Romans.
Like I
Celtics
said,
were
it goes
slaves
back
to
a
the Romans.
long time.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching the audience, we're not saying that any of it is okay or justified. We're just saying
No,
it all.
absolutely not. It's
Yeah.
that we all have a shared experience if you look back far enough.
But like I don't know, like in some ways though, like I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I mean, I can understand why darker folks are a bit upset because, like, even when they were freed, in some ways they still weren't because then they had the Jim Crow laws, and that was their, ways of, throwing them in jail for even stupid little things,
Yeah.
trying to arm them to make sure they couldn't have guns when other people could, and
Yeah, and some of that
so in
stuff
some
still
ways
goes on.
their rights were still repressed for a long time, even when slavery ended, where folks that look like you and me didn't necessarily have that same issue. So I
Exactly.
can I can definitely understand that their wounds still haven't like fully healed as much as, you know, some of the other folks. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, let's see. Yeah. Um,
And that's
I mean,
actually
some of
that's
that stuff
actually part
still
of what
goes
my
on.
documentary is going to be about is racial injustice in
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So not to give it away because I don't want to give it all away, but that's what the project. I mean, I know I told you, but I was telling the audience.
Yeah, that
I
that
don't
tweet
know
that
who all was watching.
that tweet was really cool. That that you
I
posted in the
Yeah, like part of the money, like I know it sounds scandalous, but part of the money is to like if I'm not allowed to necessarily be nearby when they're using the ground penetrating radar, I'm hoping to like get the foreman and like pass them $50 to let me like film their process and how it looks when they're doing that, something like
what
that. Because I might have to bribe a couple of people to get some good footage. Now I'm not trying to like film them exhuming bodies. Like no 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 no. No, I'm not trying to disrespect the dead. No, that is not what I'm trying to do. But
yeah.
it would be cool to be able to see the process they do and watch it penetrate the ground and see what's in the ground and that process. Like I'll be like, I'm not going to get in the way of your heavy equipment, nothing like that. I just want to show people what processes are being done to try to find these mass graves.
Right.
And so, he's like slip him a 50, like I won't get in your way, bro. Just let me film some of this.
Oh yeah.
So like this bribery gets you places. And so that is part of the
Well, that's what
expenditures.
journalists and documentarians have been doing for years.
Yeah, and like I've seen some people have done like some like 30-minute documentaries, at least that I found, and like each one like I've seen like it's missing a little something something, and I want to add a little something something to it, and it's possibly going to piss some people off, like possibly the National Guard.
Yeah.
Because in 1921 they were called to stop the mess from happening, but there was some people they were saying that that there was a couple of low flying. Well, it might have been a couple because it was nighttime. But like at least one plane was low flying and dropping some kind of explosives. Like it could have been like kerosene bombs. It could have been smaller bombs. 'Cause some of the bombs they used to use in World War I, some of them were just the size of this. If you look them up, it's like Mark Ones, Mark Twos, Mark Three, Mark Fours, things like this. There were different, obviously different, varying sizes. And if it if there is even a shadow of a doubt that the National Guard bombed a civilian population, that's an atrocity that absolutely should be apologized for.
Yeah.
And so I think the National Guard's going to get, or Air Guard, or whatever the fuck they were called back then, that might be a little pissed. Because who else is going to and who's going to give permission, even if it's not the National Guard doing it, who would have access to a plane unless they're like someone with a crop duster, it's reaching out the window and dropping one of the smaller ones by hand. That is possible.
Yeah.
But still, like, would someone do that with the National Guard there? And if the National Guard knew about it, wouldn't their superior know about it? And if
And
so,
there would
why
have
would
been
they not
somebody
report it?
arrested. Somebody would have
Because
got taken.
exactly.
They would
And
have reported he at
judging
least
by the
died.
pictures I've seen, it looks like Afghanistan. I mean, these are buildings that were made out of brick and limestone. I mean, those things were built to last.
Yeah. But to
These
be
things look
fair,
like they were
Detroit looks like
absolutely in.
Afghanistan anyway.
And I saw some of the interviews with people. It was done probably like 15, 20 years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
these people are
incendiary
alive in.
stuff, Foundation.
Huh?
He said it's incendiaries that they were dropping.
Yes,
Yeah.
incineraries. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, some kind of ordinance. I mean, it could have been homemade, sure, not sure, but still, who's flying over this in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
You know, and it's definitely suspicious. And also, the sheriff at the time, he's also quite, at least negligent, because like at one point, some people were coming up and like, "Hey, it looks like some shit's about to go down," and he's like, it's probably not going to be anything. Why don't you go back to town? Let me know what people are doing and come back. Instead of getting off his fucking ass and going to look himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
from
there's a lot of shit that was allowed to happen. And
I hate
again,
to say
mass
this.
graves. Who the hell would get away with putting mass graves without like the people in charge knowing about it? Because they had declared martial law at that point. So
Here's
guess
the
who's in
thing
charge?
that I discovered about Oklahoma when I lived there is that because most of Oklahoma is very, very, very rural, right? Unless you're in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, you're pretty much rural.
Norman and Moore are kind of moving on up.
Yeah, well, but they're all, I mean, it's like Dallas. You got from almost 60 miles out, it's concrete all the way to Dallas now.
Right. Yeah,
And
here,
nothing but
like
city.
all I gotta do is go like 15, 20 miles down the street, and
Yeah.
people got cows.
Yeah. Yeah, and where in 1986 I moved to Pushmataha County, Antlers, Oklahoma, which is
Antlers. If you say Antlers, I'll understand that. The county, like not so much.
it's basically the tail end of the Ozarks that come down out of Arkansas.
Right.
Right. But they were the most corrupt government people.
Little small town, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't just a small town. It was state officials stealing, because you could go out in those mountains. You can walk 3,000. You can walk thousands and thousands of acres without hitting a fence, right? And you'll be walking, and it'll be dense forest all around you. And all of a sudden, you come to a clearing that's nothing but marijuana fields.
I've
done
turn
this.
around and walk away.
Yeah, well, they start shooting at you. But these officials, when they find these, they were using helicopters for the longest time. I don't know if you remember, but they would hunt them down with helicopters.
Dang.
And then they were supposed to burn the fields. They were harvesting them and selling it.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not. They were just mad they
All
weren't getting
through
a
the
cut of
80s
the
and
pie, so they
90s.
took the whole pie.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, Oklahoma's got some janky history, man. Even
and
recent.
I have a feeling it has to do with the fact that most of the state is rural and they can get away with stuff because they can hide it easier.
Right.
That's the one drawback with that. It's easier to take because rural people don't give a crap. They don't investigate stuff that doesn't affect them. You know what I mean? So most law-abiding citizens were like, I don't give a crap what happens to the weed. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
that's
smoke it.
yeah. They should care about the corruption though.
Yep, they should. And now it's legal there, and all that millions and millions and millions of dollars that they wasted on the war on drugs.
Yeah, yeah. They wasted millions of lives and money on the war on drugs, and the drugs won.
Well, and they weren't fighting the right drugs. They focused on
Right,
marijuana.
right, exactly. They were wasting.
Every
Well, a lot of the drugs that were being brought in, a lot of them were being allowed to be brought in
or
because
encouraged.
most regular people like you and me don't go to Colombia, pick up a whole bunch of drugs, and come back into the United States.
No, the CIA did that.
Exactly. The CIA, the FBI probably had a hand in it. I wouldn't be surprised. And then just let it go free, and then arrest the people who used it, so they could keep people incarcerated and keep making money off people in prison.
Yep.
So yeah,
That's a big
absolutely.
problem right now.
Oh yeah, it has been. I think they started this stupid shit around the 30s, and they started this war on drugs kind of concept. It wasn't called the war on drugs, but they were outlawing more and more things. And at one point, like before that actually happened, you could actually have cocaine in small amounts if you had a proper tax stamp for it. And and they did it to kind of fuck you because like you needed to show that you had or needed the cocaine to get the
Right.
stamp, but you could get in trouble because you didn't have the stamp yet. But like yeah, so they made it kind of difficult to get that tax stamp in the first place.
Right.
And yeah,
Well,
it was yeah.
and I've
So
got a friend of
the
mine.
history of the war on drugs is the most insane shit anyone could possibly ever imagine.
I got a friend of mine who drinks poppy tea a lot. He
What is it? Pot tea? You said?
poppy.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah. That I was actually about to bring that up. Actually,
Did
the
you
majority
know
of our
that?
drug laws were actually based on racism.
Yeah.
There around the turn of the century, hell, probably even into the probably it probably started around the late 20s. It started kind of becoming illegal, but
The crazy
we could have
Mexican drug
opium or laudanum.
marijuana.
Yeah, we could have laudanum or opium, but like they decided Asian people couldn't be trusted, so they couldn't have it, but white people could. And then as
Mhm.
addictions and other stuff started getting out of hand, they started making it illegal for everyone.
Right.
Marijuana for a while was or cannabis, as they would call it kind of then. It was used in a lot of medicines, and it was legal. But but they started making it illegal because God help me, some idiot some supposed expert in some shit decided to go testify in front of Congress or somebody, and his his scientific claim was that marijuana would make white people want to have relations with black people. And so that
And
made
it
it
would make
illegal
us
because they were
crazy.
afraid that people would drop their inhibitions and like not be racist for a minute, I guess. And so that's how it originally weed became
Yeah.
illegal. So they have upheld for the longest time, and federally still are
Yeah.
upholding a law based on racism. It
Well,
is
you know,
insane.
it's not just that. They used the race thing to get it because they said the Mexicans were coming across the border crazy on this stuff, right?
I don't think it's the weed that was that
But do you know
it came
why?
across crazy.
But do you know why they did it in the first place? Race was the reason, was the excuse. But you know what the reason was? A guy
I
invented a tool that would make it very, very easy to make thread out of hemp,
Oh yes,
and it
and the
would
oil
have
companies, the
destroyed
oil
the
and
cotton
plastics did not
industry.
want that.
It would have destroyed the cotton industry.
the cotton industry, the oil companies, the plastics. Oh yeah.
That's exactly why it is considered on par with heroin.
So yeah, they were
It's
like,
all
no,
about money.
we made our fortune on cotton. We're sticking with it.
Yeah. So he told me, he goes, do you know where I get the poppies I use for my basically opioid tea that he makes out of poppies? And he grew up around Southeast Asia, so he knows how to make it properly, right?
Right?
Um, which means it's just literally the juice of the poppy, and it relaxes you and allows you to sleep. That's
Well,
it.
yeah. Well, uh, it's the seeds.
No, yeah, well, it's the pod, right?
Okay, yeah, because the pod will still have at least some of the dried
Yeah.
latex
So
inside.
so
What
when
do
a
you call it?
poppy blooms,
The
the
white
pod's
stuff.
still there,
Yeah,
right?
it's just dried.
Do you know where he gets all his poppies?
You
From the
can,
flower shop,
but like well, it depends because there's different kinds of poppy. The
right?
poppy
But you can
that you
order,
usually get opium from is something like Afghani poppy, where if you use California poppy, the alkaloid in it is much lower
right?
and it doesn't have the same effect.
But you can
Not that I
order,
would know about this.
I can call right now and order from my local flower shop poppies that have a high concentration. They're legal to
Well, like,
sell as
I mean, do
flowers.
they know where they're getting their poppies from? Because
Yes,
if it's just California poppy, it'd be cheaper to bring it, import it, and they would.
right. But some people want the colors that only exist in other poppies. Yeah. So they
I
are
like
allowed,
you know, and poppies came in all sorts of colors.
it's a specific thing. But anyway, you can order those poppies as flowers to give to somebody. Here's the catch. If let's say you leave them in the vase too long and they dry out, now you're in possession of an illegal substance.
A lot of people have used dried poppy pods as decoration,
Yeah.
but I was told that the thing is, if they find that you cut or like cut it
Scored
to
it.
where you're trying to harvest it, that's when
Yeah.
you get it in
Yeah,
trouble.
because you when they're green, you score it and it starts to
Right.
leak milk. And that's all I know about it.
Yeah, and then
But
you pretty much you collect that as much, you wring out as much of that as you can, and you can also wash the
right.
poppy seeds that are in the pod,
Mhm.
and like you put a little warm water or something, do
Yeah.
this, strain out the seeds, and you also have the opium in that. That will take longer to dry than the latex, obviously, and then you can actually just go turn around and replant the seeds and make more.
Yeah.
Again, not that I know anything about this or
And
ever read
you
it
can order the seeds and
about it.
grow them in your yard. You
Oh,
can order
absolutely.
Afghan
Well,
poppy
you gotta
seeds.
make sure they have a lot of sunshine and they
Mhm.
grow better in sand. So, not that I'm telling anybody how to do that. I'm just saying
Well, the point I was trying to make with this is that cultures all over the world know how to use these things properly,
they've been
right?
doing it since 5000 BC.
Yeah. And the problem isn't the substance itself, it is the process by which people are taking the substance and concentrating it.
Yes, because morphine you get from a doctor is much stronger than the raw opium
Right.
because
Like if you
it's dried, it's extracted, it's synthesized, and made stronger. Whereas the stuff
if
you
you
get
have
out
a
of the
natural plant,
pod,
the law should be if you process it, it's illegal.
right?
It shouldn't be if you possess the components of this drug, it's illegal. It should be
Well,
if you process it into a high grade drug, then it's illegal.
right. And I understand that. But they're one of the reasons why that's the issue is pharmaceutical companies who use this and make money off opiates.
Yep.
They are one of the biggest lobbyists in Congress, and
Yeah, I know.
they don't want competition. They want. I think it was Chris Rock. I think. And I think he said it's not that they don't. It's not they just don't want you hooked on your drugs. They want you hooked on their drugs.
Hmm.
And because he's like money's on the comeback. Like, and he's right. Like,
Well,
because they're like, oh, you're on heroin? That's not good. Let's help you get off that by giving you methadone forever.
yeah, which is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, except yeah, it's
My first
controlled. It
wife
makes
had to
it
go on
controlled.
methadone for a long time to get off of Xanax.
What? Use methadone off Xanax? Really?
Yeah, they put her on methadone to get her off of Xanax.
That's crazy. I take Klonopin, which is like a smoother, like more slow acting version of Xanax.
Well, she's a registered nurse. Well, she was a registered nurse at the time. So she did what they call doctor shopping, right?
Yes, culture. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said a minute ago. That's exactly one of the
Yep.
biggest problems.
It's
And
the
the fact
problem
that
with
they keep
marijuana
trying to make
too.
shit stronger and stronger, like fentanyl. What the fuck do you need fentanyl for? That stuff
You
is
don't.
just too much.
You don't. People don't need that stuff.
I was given fentanyl once for stomach pain. Like usually they gave me Dilaudid, which is a synthetic morphine, because
Yeah.
morphine itself does not work on me. Like it gets weird. Like they'll give me an injection. I'm like,
What's the
sorry, I
stuff
know
that
you're fast,
starts
but
with a
like
V?
last two times they tried to give me morphine, it didn't do fucking anything for me. So I'm just one of those people, I guess. But they gave me Dilaudid. That worked. That got rid of the pain. I was still fine. I mean, I didn't feel like all fucked up and couldn't walk. I was fine. It's just the pain was gone. I'm like, this
Yeah.
works.
Well, see, that's the thing
And,
with morphine. That's the thing with opioids. If you get the proper amount, it just relieves the pain. But
right.
they
And
over.
Dilaudid, they did that. But when I was in Texas at one point, I forget, I was not far from Odessa, I think. I was having severe stomach pain because
Mhm.
like I just had like a GERD issue. Like it's yeah, so it feels like
Yeah.
molten glass. And they
Yeah.
gave me fucking fentanyl, and they told me they were going to, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, don't give me much, Jesus. I've heard scary stuff,
Yeah.
and like finally pain was gone. I was like, ooh, like I didn't feel good. I was like, man, I don't like this. Ugh. But the
No.
pain was gone, so I was fine. And so like later on, like we were heading back to Oklahoma, and this is like, and it's warm out, and I was freezing cold. I was shaking, I was shivering, I was freezing. We had the heat cranked up. Chris put his coat on me. I could not get warm enough. I was freezing. I was like, what's wrong with me? I mean, it took me a while to realize that may be some like effects of not of the stuff leaving my system, I guess.
Right.
But that was like I only had fentanyl once, and I assume they didn't give me much. I assume, but
Right.
that's how I felt afterward. I was freezing, I was shivering, I was chattering my teeth, and he's like, "Good God!" And I'm like, "It was awful."
Well, I'll tell you what. And here's a good story. Here's a good story. My stepdaughter was about 12 years old, and she really wanted to do English horseback riding. So we hired a ranch just outside of town, and I think it was like $400 a month. They provided everything except for the boots and the outfit,
I hope so.
and they taught her how to ride. Well, when I get migraines every time the weather changes, like if the season changes, I get a migraine
Ooh,
because it's linked to my sinuses. So I'll get a sinus infection, I'll get a migraine, and the only thing I can do is sit in a dark, quiet place under hot water. That's all I can do. It's just so painful.
oh,
Well, I got off work and met my wife and my stepdaughter at the place where she was getting her stuff, and Tracy was like, you got a headache, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, because you can tell when I have a headache. And she goes, here, take this. And she broke her pill in half and gave me one. I said, what's this? She goes, don't worry about it. You just won't have a headache in a few minutes. So I took it. She's my wife. I trust her, right?
I no, no, no. I don't care who they are. I'd be like, no, tell me what it is. Don't tell me not to worry about it.
I woke up the next day in jail. I don't
What
remember
the
how I got
fuck?
there. She gave me 3 times the legal dose.
Is she trying to kill you?
Probably, but in retrospect, but no, that's what she normally took because she got so used to it. She'd been on it for years and it shot when she ran out with one doctor, she would just go to another doctor. And she's a nurse, so she knew exactly what to tell them to get the highest possible dose. She knew how to
Whoa,
she knew she knows how to fake tests.
that's insane.
Well, she's an RN
I
and
know, but
she
that's
was
still
working on her
insane.
nurse practitioners. And then, I mean, but yeah, I didn't get in any trouble. I just apparently when I got pulled over on the way to work the next day, I told them that I had just taken a bunch of Benadryl and I was having bad sinus issues, and they didn't even drug test me. They just
Oh, thank God.
put me in a drunk tank and had somebody come pick me up.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because that would have been awkward because you'd be like, I took the
Well,
pill my wife.
apparently I was swerving and I pulled over on the side of the road.
Oh, thank goodness. At least you had the wherewithal to know, oh, I better pull over. Oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Well, I mean,
Oh, my
even when I was a
God.
kid, I never drove drunk. You know,
Oh,
I
that's
just
fair.
never did. I so I guess it's just part of me. And I don't know. I can't remember if I was even cognizant at the time because I don't remember. I'm
Well,
blacked
some
out. I
part of
got
your brain must have been.
apparently after her riding lesson, we went and I put a down payment on a house I'd never even seen before. Um, and then got the kids up for work for school at 4 o'clock in the morning before I left for work. Got them dressed, and then I left for work. And my dad said that I called him around noon to come get me. Apparently, I was sleeping the whole time I was in the drunk cell.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's how bad Xanax is.
On my back. Oh,
Yeah, but one of
and
these
one.
days I'm going to try. Um, yeah, yeah, me too. And like I thought she was giving me, like a half of a painkiller,
Well, I mean, I guess.
And I weighed about 350 pounds at the time, so I figured it wouldn't affect me that bad.
If you're not used to it, it might surprise you.
I was blacked out. I may have been blacked out in the cell, but apparently I had enough sense of myself to go, I'm not gonna hurt somebody. I'm gonna pull over. So
Dang. That's crazy.
I've heard of Valerian root culture.
I'd have to look it up. I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
It's like belladonna. If you don't,
I've heard
if
of
you get
that.
the right amount of belladonna, it'll make you sleepy.
I didn't
It'll
know
help you
that. I knew
sleep.
that a long time ago, women used to drop some of it into their eyes to make their eyes look nice and big.
Yeah,
I'm
but
thinking, oh, you
it'll,
put poison in your eyes. What a time to be alive.
but yeah, it'll calm you and help you sleep. But if you get too much of it, it will make you very, very sick.
Ooh.
I think the amounts you have to actually kill you though are stupid.
I,
But it,
I, I, like I said, I've heard of belladonna, but it's not really my plant of study, so I have no idea. But the valerian root, I might have to look that up because that does
yeah,
sound familiar.
it makes you wonder where George R. R. Martin got some of his names. Valeria.
Oh. Mm.
It's
Maybe
crazy
it's
where some of
fancy
these.
a Valerie. I don't know.
Yeah, Valerian sounds like a. Maybe it's not Martin. Maybe it's someplace else. But I've heard that name for a place before in a book. But
Now I'm wanting to look it up. Dadgummit. I hope I don't get in trouble for trying to do that.
yeah, yeah, OxyContin's bad too. So my ex-wife, the reason she was addicted to opioids was because when she was about 19, she was frying potatoes, and she got a
Right.
phone call. And after an hour on the phone, she walked back in the kitchen, it was on fire, and
Oh yeah, you stayed on the phone for an hour. Holy
she
shit.
grabbed the pot and ran outside with it, splashing burning grease all over her. So they had her on opioids for 6 months.
Oh
When
my
you're on
god.
when you're on opioids for 6 months, you're addicted. You're done. So yeah, and she got we got married. She decided she wanted to go to nursing school, so we put her through nursing school. She graduated and got an internship for now this is 2000, right? And her internship was $26 an hour for neonatal intensive care at Children's Medical Center and in Dallas. And 6 months into it, she got caught stealing morphine. Yeah, they're supposed to. So neonates, I mean, the babies are smaller than your hand, right?
Right.
A 28-week baby, or I think it's 23 weeks is the smallest they keep now. It's get every year they can save them earlier and earlier. So I think it's 23 weeks, but most of those crack babies are crack babies, and they have to have morphine or they go into withdrawal and die. But you can only put a like a
Oh yeah,
microscopic
tiny
amount,
amount because they're so little.
right? But morphine only
Yeah.
comes in one size, and you can't double dip. So they're supposed to get the drop out, put it in the IV, throw the rest away. None of those
It seems
nurses
like
were
it's a
doing that.
waste of medicine though.
Well, that's the way it works. And instead of throwing it away, they were pocketing it, taking it home. And she went into the bathroom right after her shift was over, shot up, and then bumped into her boss on the way out. You know, she got to keep her license.
How?
It's built into the system. It is so prevalent. Drug abuse is so prevalent in the medical fields that they have to have a three-strike rule. Otherwise, there would be no medical professionals.
Holy shit. Maybe they would just be better at hiring people. Holy fuck.
Well, it's just there all the time. If you hang around nurses a lot, you know what they joke about the most?
No
Using
idea.
drugs.
I only know like one nurse, and she's a girl I went to school with, and I've never seen her make jokes on, at least not online. I've never seen her make jokes, and I haven't seen her like in person in years. So I
Yeah, when
did
they
not.
were, I mean, I mean, it could have been the people she was picking out to hang out with too, but her
Well, I
mom
mean,
was
yeah,
the same way. Her
that,
mom was an RN and they joked about it too all the time.
that's madness. Wow,
And
I don't
so,
even know what to say.
yeah, she
That
still
makes
has her license, but she's blacklisted. She can't get a job at a hospital.
what's the point of her having her license if she's blacklisted?
And she's supposedly has a path back. And she just
Of what?
a path back into it.
Okay. I'm
So
sorry, I'm looking at Valerian Root right now.
right up until COVID, she was a home health nurse for small children.
God, I'd be afraid she'd kill one of the kids.
No, she was really good with the kids, but they were
Yeah.
terminal patients. All of her kids were terminal. Um, you know, but she wasn't built for it either because it just every time she lost a kid, she went spiraling into nothing.
Oh, I would lose it too, man. Like, yeah, I
I
don't
think
think
she
I
works
did that.
for they lost their house, they lost everything. All they have is a camper on the back of a pickup and they're staying in my or her oldest daughter's backyard or something right now,
Oh
working for
wow,
like DoorDash or something.
that,
Yeah, I
that's
know. We
crazy.
spent like $60,000 for her to get a registered nurse license, and she works for DoorDash for like $10 an hour.
I think I have some raccoons in the attic.
Now, the thing about her was that we went to high school together, and she was 2 years younger than I, and she dated my best friend in high school. Um, when they when she was a senior in high school, she was trying out for the Olympics in gymnastics, and her dad lost his job and couldn't pay anymore, so she kind of rebelled. She was a
Right.
brilliant kid. She was in, all the top tier classes, took college classes, all that stuff. She's super intelligent. And then, and then her dad lost his job. She got pregnant on purpose. She was lashing out. They weren't
Yeah,
rich anymore. They lived at a country club, and then he lost his job, and they were living in a rent house.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah, I mean they were. He was making. He told me he was making $1 million a year and never saved a dime. You know what he did for a living? He sold high-end computers in the 80s to governments.
How do you not save money? How do you spend so much that you don't save money from that?
I don't know. I mean, they
I
had a
cannot
lot of nice
spend
stuff.
that much, dude.
I
Like,
think
if
it was
I already know Goodwill, I feel guilty.
they
Like,
were in debt up to their eyeballs.
oh my god, that
Yeah.
is
He
that's
committed suicide about 6 months ago. I mean, they worked their way back. They owned a house and all that stuff when he passed, but he taught us a lot of hard lessons that he learned. But anyway, she acted out, got pregnant. She was 16. My buddy was 17. They got shotgun married,
right.
and he was working 3 jobs while she was trying to go to school. And another guy we went to school with and his wife moved into the same apartment complex they were in. And of course, Matt was single and stayed at home all the time. And then Tracy was single and stayed at home all the time. The other two worked all the time. So that marriage failed. I got back from the Air Force, and I think she had been divorced from her second husband for like 4 years. And I hadn't dated anybody in a few years. So my best friend told us we should go out on a date or something and hang out. And we dated for about 3 years before my son was born. But once she got her nursing degree, that's when she went crazy.
Right.
Because in 2000, I made $14 an hour doing tech support, right? I
Right.
was a tier 2 tech support. When she got her $26 an hour job, suddenly all I did for was living was sit on my butt. She had the real job.
That is wild.
And we had a conversation about her making more money than me because I'm still of that generation, right? You know, us earlier Gen Xers were still raised like the wife stayed home or your wife shouldn't make more money than you. It's just the way it was back then. You know what I mean? But I didn't
Mm.
ever have a problem with it until she got arrogant and
Yeah,
stuff,
nobody likes that.
you know. So, but yeah, I mean, she did. She got caught with 3 bottles of morphine in her pocket.
Holy fuck!
The thing is that they can't take her license if she agrees to go to their counseling.
Uh,
And we were getting a divorce at the time. So she called me to cry to me about it.
uh,
And I was just like, what do you want me to do? I told you to stop doing that. So, but I mean, I'm a freaking white trash redneck. That's how I was raised. It's a People wonder why I've been married 3 times. I'm like, that's common.
yeah, that actually surprises. I'm surprised that people yeah, divorce is very common. I don't know why people seem surprised someone's divorced.
Well, especially nowadays when you don't have a say. Like every divorce I've got, I don't believe in divorce. I believe in working through the hard times, even if it's painful, right?
Well, yeah, but a person still has a right to leave a marriage, though, and not be held
Yes,
captive.
but yes, but it's too easy. It's too easy because my wife can decide that she wants to get a divorce and take everything she wants with her, and I have no choice
Yeah,
in the matter.
that is wild.
She got the house. They were going to give her my truck too. They gave her the dogs. They gave her everything. I didn't even
Wow.
have cash to find a place to live because she decided. And that's just the way it is. It's when my parents had trouble and they were talking about divorce, it was mandatory 3-month counseling, waiting
Here
period
in
and counseling.
Oklahoma, they want you to go to some kind of counseling thing before you get divorced.
Now, it's the day they sign the paperwork. You're done. No waiting period, no counseling, no nothing. You're done.
Yeah, Oklahoma. like flipped on that and changed that.
And we've been raised in a society where nowadays it's not, if it's too hard, you just quit.
Sometimes it is too much, though.
Sometimes it is, but you got to at least try.
I have two ex-husbands. I mean, one died, but
Right.
like, I did not do that.
That'd make a
I
good
want to make
story,
sure
though.
people like don't misunderstand. He had diabetes and MS, so like
Yeah.
that didn't go well, and he liked his alcohol, so this was all very bad.
Yeah, you're not supposed to drink alcohol with MS. I dated a
No,
girl once that had MS. She had to
he had
take
diabetes
weird
and MS, so
shots.
he was a mess.
Yeah,
But
she
he
had to
loved
take,
it just way too much. And
and
what he thought he was invincible. Like he could still like feel sick and end up in the hospital. He always survived, so he always thought he would be invincible. And I'm like, I almost started to believe it. I was like, dang,
yeah.
dude, he's still alive. But no, at some point, just kind of not. And I'm like, but like he and I just were not a fit for each other, and like we got along better after we were divorced, like not together anymore. And like, but like some things were just like not good. Like it was toxic. Like people throw that word around a lot, but like getting slapped by your husband, that's toxic. I'm sorry. Like, yeah. And like if I was like trying to like we're arguing, I'm frustrated, and I stomp my foot 'cause I'm frustrated. Like
Yeah.
oh like he'd lunge at me, and I'm like what the fuck? 'Cause I guess he considered the foot stomp to be threatening. It was me being frustrated. I didn't stomp it at him. But yeah, so some things are just toxic, and like
Yeah.
there's situations
What do you mean, sci-fi?
where
Fall
divorce, but
upstairs?
he was agreeable to the divorce though. So
Yeah, I was trying to be really agreeable, but I was still trying to say, let's go to counseling, let's do something, let's try.
well, you gotta be one or
Yeah.
the other, man. I mean, you can't be agreeable and say, hey, let's go
Well,
to counseling.
I mean, I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go get a place. We don't have to get a divorce right away. Let's try counseling and stuff. She just didn't want to do it.
That's because
And
she
to
already
this
had other
day, I
plans.
don't know her
She already
reason.
got
She
other
still
plans.
won't. Huh?
She already had other plans, man.
Yeah, I know. The neighbor was a single
When
guy.
any guy or girl sneaks it on you and you're not like physically abusing them, because that's a get out as quick as you can thing. But like if the person's not being physically abused, but they suddenly just whip out some divorce papers and they won't go to counseling, they already
Yeah,
made
I
up their
know.
mind. They got plans.
I know. The single black guy that moved next door to us 2 months before the divorce.
It only took her 2 months, and she's like
I
ready to
guess.
dang,
I
dang.
guess. But
Goodness.
I mean, with my job, I'm locked up in my office 60 to 70 hours a week on the weekends, right?
Yeah, so you weren't bugging her.
Yeah, well, I wasn't bugging her. Plus, when I had downtime, I was writing, and I was in my own little world. So yeah, I have bad habits that could be an overcome. I'm not going to change who I am. She didn't like that I smoked,
Well, she knew
right?
you smoked when y'all married, though.
Yeah, I told. Yeah, I've been smoking since I was
Yeah,
9 years old.
yeah, that drives me crazy. If someone would be like I was in her with a cigarette in my hand, talking to me, and then like sometime down the road, oh by the way, I don't really like that you smoke. Bitch, you knew what you signed up for.
Yeah,
And don't give me that now. No.
yeah. And then it's just I yell a lot. I'm a loud person. I can be obnoxious when I'm frustrated.
I'm told I'm abrasive.
But I'm like, if you have if I'm yelling and I'm trying to do something and I'm yelling and I'm frustrated, just walk away from me. I'm not yelling at you unless you're like sticking your nose in and telling me I'm stupid or something or making me feel stupid.
If someone told me I was stupid, I'd yell at them too.
Yeah. Or
And they better leave.
questioning.
They better fucking leave.
The biggest problem is I'd be intense trying to figure something out, trying to do something, and it would be in my ear 20 questions. What are you doing? How are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this out.
I'd
Leave
be
me
like, let's
alone.
get better ideas. Back off.
Yeah. So, that kind of thing. But I'm a redneck. That's what we do. We yelled across the fields at each other. And you know what? If my dad yelled at my mom, you know what my mom would do? She would yell right back and tell him to shut the fuck up.
I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, if I think it's a situation that's escalating, I will try to avoid that. If it's just like we know it's not going to get out of hand, then I'll yell back. Like, it just kind of depends on the situation. But I like but I sound abrasive, and people are like, "Well, you need to stop yelling." I'm like, "I'm not actually yelling. I sound
Yeah.
abrupt and I'm abrasive. There's a difference. I'm not actually yelling. I
Yeah.
can show you yelling." This is what my mother used to say. I can show you yelling if you like, and I
Yeah.
always get a no for an answer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that sucks, Sci-Fi Nation. Ugh. That only happens to me if I've smoked too much weed.
that.
But I'm too happy to notice it. So, um, the my dad's like, "How can you do that and be conservative?" I'm like, "'Cause it works. I do it for a specific purpose and it works." So, because I was totally against it until my doctor told me to try it.
Sorry, I'm trying to sell a car at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah.
I am listening. I just didn't want you to think I was ignoring you for like no reason.
No, 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 that's fine. Yeah. So, is the documentary going to be your next project?
It's a maybe, and I say maybe because I don't know how soon I can get to Tulsa to do some preliminary like taking pictures of archives type shit,
Hmm.
and get some like B-roll footage of where the area was because lots changed since the 20s, and the them searching for the mass graves is going to I think start in like early summer.
Yeah.
And so, because you definitely want the rainy season to be over when you're doing this, and so
Especially
I
up
plan,
there.
so I plan to be up there and film that as well.
Yeah.
But if like some sudden urge strikes me that like I need to film something else, like another short movie or something between now and that time, then I'll
Yeah.
do that. But like right now, I'm like doing like a bit of research here and there, so I don't burn myself out studying too much
Yeah.
on how I'm going to put this together. Like I've got some of the I screenshot some of the pictures of my phone from the archives, to show people. Like, well, I mean, 'cause some
Well,
of it,
and
I mean,
that's
like I said, it looks like bombs were dropped on this place. I mean, holy
yeah.
crap! Brick
Yeah.
buildings where most of is barely a frame left of it. It's like a regular fire does not do that
Yeah,
because
it's
the witnesses that were interviewed, and like I said, they were probably like 12 at the time when it happened. And
yeah.
it's an old interview. They said they were hiding under the bed, and men would see the men's boots coming in and setting torches to the curtains and setting the curtains and stuff on fire, and their mom getting them out through the back, out the back door of the house, things like that. A regular
Yeah.
fire just being set on, curtains is not going to level brick buildings like that.
Right, right.
It'll gut the whole inside. I've seen brick buildings that have been burnt out, and weren't leveled.
Not like that, no.
Yeah, this looked like they absolutely demolished. And I mean that takes a lot of work for just I mean sandstone, brick buildings because that's the kind of stuff they usually built with back then. All right, it's over here.
I just put your link in the chat.
Okay.
Cool. There we go. That way whenever I leave my live streams up because it doesn't matter right now. If I ever get monetized, I'll probably move them or hide them or something, but um people like watching the chat replay, so um you too,
Right.
Sci-Fi Nation. It was good. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Um, yeah. So I have to. That's why I write so many different genres. Is because if I stick to just one, I get bored.
Right. I
So
can
I'll do
understand.
thrillers, historical stuff, dark fantasy, sci-fi, a mixture, post-apocalyptic, all that stuff. I think if there's a story to tell, it doesn't matter what genre it's in, it's worth it. But I really did enjoy that film. It really had that wistful sense to it, like you knew she was in a dream. You know what I mean?
There was something I was planning to do with the camera, but like I was kind of nervous working with a new person that I totally forgot. I was gonna have the camera tilted slightly like this so it makes people
Mhm.
feel off balance, and I
Right.
totally forgot to do it. I was like,
What kind of camera you use?
uh, Note 10.
Oh, you're just using your phone?
It's his camera phone because apparently his is way better than mine. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
those
never
notes are really.
gonna film yours, dude.
Yeah, I don't film anything because I have an iPhone, and I have an iPhone because of the first phone I ever had was an iPhone because I worked for Apple, and I had one for free for like 6 years because I worked for them. So I never switched because I just know how it works and I know how to fix it. I know how to take it apart. So I
Ah,
don't.
right.
I I'm probably gonna get a GoPro or something. I think maybe, or maybe heck, just a digital video camera. They're not very expensive anymore, I don't
Ah,
think.
right. Smoke my eye.
But yeah,
Hold on. I need someone to type the vehicle.
ah,
Can y'all see if the car starts? Can someone see if the car starts? The Ford? I'm asking if someone will check to see if it does. Tomorrow. Oh. Okay. Well, shit. I gotta fix that. I think I took that wrong.
that
Alright.
lady actually lied to me at StreamYards. It was funny.
What lady in StreamYard?
So I tried to put my credit card in because I changed my credit cards. So if I'm going to do live streams, I want to pay for the $20 a month thing, so I can invite as many people that want to come.
Ah.
And it wouldn't take my credit card. So I opened the chat, tech support chat, and said, "Hey, I've tried this thing 3 times. I know I've got money on it. It's rejecting it." And she literally typed, "We don't accept debit cards anymore. It has to be a credit card." Well, it turned out that my debit card is so old that the 9 is half rubbed off, so it looks like a 4 if you don't hold
Oh,
it
wow.
just right. So you know how they're like the numbers are raised and then they got that
Yeah.
silver sheen on them. Well, the silver sheen was rubbed off the top of the 9, so it looked like a 4. Once I corrected that, it worked. But I already I'm still getting texts from people going, "Oh, please tell me that's not true." So, huh?
Yeah.
4 more subscribers, I'll be a quarter of the way there.
Nice.
I'm at 246 and 1,012 watch hours.
Yeah, the watch hours are a pain in the ass, man. They keep keeping my watch time down. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I think I've got people like coming into the stream or coming onto my channel and doing the playlist thing and walking away because I'll look every now and then and I'll see just it go right in order
uh,
where somebody's listening to them. Well, that's what they're designed to do, especially the novel.
right.
But I get 96% of my viewership are not subscribed.
That's weird.
And I tested
I
it one
actually look
time and
at my analytics,
went
so I have no idea. I have to look at my analytics to find out. I don't really look at it.
I went to my um what was it I did? I went to my page on a different browser so it wouldn't sign me in, and it's suggesting my videos.
Oh wow, cool. I don't know what to do to make it suggest mine. I don't even know. Maybe it does suggest mine. I just don't
If I
know.
watch one video of mine, and then because all my browsers are set up to clear the history and cookies as soon as they close, right?
Right.
If I go back there on the front page, I guess it tracks my IP, but on the front page it has StoryMan-Jack stories on there, even if I'm not signed in. Because all it took was one time of me watching listening to one of the stories, and then from then on, it's starting to suggest my stuff. So I think the way I'm doing this and not being political or about pop culture or anything, they're suggesting my videos more because it's fiction. It's not. I don't have a message other than what's in the story, right?
Right.
I'm not calling people names. I'm just making my fictional characters do what they do.
Right.
I can't remember who it was, but there was a higher profile person. They said that my channel was a terrific idea for YouTube because there's no controversy about it. It's just stories. If you don't like them, you don't like them. There's nothing to go after anybody about. And if I write something that somebody doesn't agree with, I can say that's just the character. So, and you can't copyright something I came out of my head. Now, I have gotten a couple of copyright hits because I tried using Adobe stock music that I paid for, and YouTube doesn't recognize the license from them or something.
Oh,
Or Germany doesn't, or something like that.
like in
So I
Germany.
just use the YouTube studio music. I just try to find something that fits. And I'm trying to learn the guitar so I can play my own.
Right.
I was gonna learn how to do art stuff, but I think the guitar is enough for now because I can't even draw stick figures. All my visual artistry is in my head.
Oh, my
So
back.
like if I read Shakespeare, I see the play in my head. It
Sorry, my
just
back.
plays like a movie. What'd you do?
I'm just getting old. My lower back is weak.
Oh yeah, mine does that too. Uh, I was fortunate enough that I got my workplace replaced all their ergonomic chairs last year, and I got three of the old ones, and they're $3,000 chairs. They're corporate
Dang,
chairs. So
that's crazy.
companies do it all the time. But yeah, I mean, I want to do kind of a chasey horror thing in that thing that I showed you.
Right.
I think if I did it at night and had like a GoPro that I could put on my forehead that I could strap to me and just run through it a few times, getting chase footage, just blank chase footage, and then hire a girl to run through it like she's being chased
Right.
and take a little bit of footage from a distance and then take a few close ups. And then I could just make all the sound effects and stuff as I go or after I get it all filmed. Right. I guess I've never mixed a movie before, so I don't know. But I've wanted to do something with that building since I was a little kid.
I imagine it looks cool.
I always promised myself if I won the lottery, I'd buy it and restore it.
I'm still waiting to win the lottery too.
I had hopes up at that billion.
That'd probably be expensive to fix, though, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay.
I can't even afford to repair my carport. Ugh.
I know I just spent a ton of money on my truck, so. But I am thinking if I get a GoPro, that would be probably good enough to film with.
Yeah, probably so.
And they're still like what, $400?
At Best Buy, I've seen GoPros for like 300, 200.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. But I think it's 90 minutes now. I'm fixing to have to go pick up my kid.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if
they
God wants
they
me.
supposedly made a batch of special brownies, and I've never done that before. Never eaten it. So I
Don't
don't.
eat a lot. Just because you don't feel it at first does not mean eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
Make sure you hydrate and eat real food first, and then maybe have a piece of brownie like this, like a 50-cent piece size. Like don't,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to dip your toe in the water with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having to take a few days off. Like I smoke before I go to bed every morning so I can sleep, and it's not affecting me as much. It's taking more and more.
That
So
happens.
I'm having to take a few days off and just struggle through it when I'm off, when I'm not working. And then because it takes me hours to go to sleep because my feet hurt so
Right?
bad.
That feeling.
They feel like they're sunburned. And I don't feel it when I'm walking around doing stuff during the day, but when you're laying there at night, they just throb like they've been burned.
Oh,
So that I've tried every medication the pharmaceuticals have for it, and it doesn't work. So my doctor's like, try this, it'll work. I'm like, are you kidding me? You told me to do something illegal? And she said, I didn't tell you to do anything.
uh,
But anyway, I appreciate you coming on. It picked way up once you did.
I'm sure it just took a while for people to know you were on. Like sometimes it
Yeah.
takes a while for people to get notifications.
Especially since I don't stream. And this is like the first stream I've done since I got divorced.
Oh,
Yeah, because I used to stream with Candace. So
I'm sorry. People are coughing in the other room. I can't hear you. Sorry.
I used to stream with Candace, with my ex.
Oh, candy
So
can.
yeah. Yeah.
I
Candy
know
animates.
Candace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I should have known when I found out she was a massage therapist named Candy. I shouldn't have married her. But she's a legit massage therapist.
Oh, okay. I was like,
She works for Elements. It's a high profile company. And she's
okay.
like a
You had me
uh
kind of like,
no, she was
what?
like a like the uh she's been doing it for 11 years. She's the lead. Like she's over the manager, but she doesn't do manager. She's just in charge of all the training, making sure people are doing things right, that kind of thing. But when she told me she was a massage therapist, I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's not,
Because I'm a redneck. The only
it's,
massage therapist I've ever been involved with
anybody would, that would be the first thought anybody had.
when the only massage therapist before her I had any contact with, I was in the military and I was drunk. Okay, so
Oh my.
well, like Keesler, for example, that's where I was stationed in tech school. They have actual lingerie modeling places. That's how these companies are built. It is nothing but women, private lingerie modeling, literally 5 feet from the gate into the base.
Oh shit. Ah,
And I had a buddy. I got drunk one night. They drugged me in there. You need to check this out, right? And whenever I found out it was going to cost money and how much it was going to cost, I left.
uh,
But my buddy went through with it and everything. They charged him $400, and his
well, I
card
mean,
bounced.
girls gotta make some money. Shit.
His card wouldn't accept it because they didn't make him pay beforehand. You know who called him the next day? It wasn't the company. It was the base general.
No.
Yeah, all those massage places, all those, they're basically bordellos.
Oh my.
They have contacts with the base general. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's the way it is at every base. It is still a very uh hey Stig, we're doing great. Yeah, it is still a very toxic masculinity place the military, or at least it was when I got out. They may have cleaned it all up by now, for all I know.
Maybe.
I mean, I hear they're not even allowed to smoke anymore. So, and that was the
Lame.
first freedom they gave me back was smoking. Even though I smoked the whole time I was in basic, you just had to be sneakier than them and figure out something they didn't think of because they thought about just about everything because they've been doing it forever.
I knew a few people who went through basic and they used chewing tobacco to survive it.
Oh, they wouldn't let us do that either.
Yeah, but it's easier to hide and you don't
Yeah,
smell it.
it is. Oh, yeah, that's when they get up in your face. That's they're not allowed to touch you with their hands. At least in the Air Force, they weren't. But they will get right up to your face, and that the brim of that hat will hit your forehead as they're yelling at you full force.
Oh my
So,
god. I would lose my shit, dude. I'd have like such an anxiety attack. I'd be like, oh my god, stop
well, that's
yelling
why
at
they do it. They do it to weed those people out. Because with anxiety, you don't want to go to war, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, like I don't know, there's like a time and a place for things and just having
mhm.
someone like straight up in your face screaming, like you don't that
Oh
like
yeah,
ah,
and you know what they're screaming
I have
about?
a face. I have a thing about my face. I don't like people up in my face.
When I went in, when I went in, I stayed in a hotel one night. We flew down to San Antonio that next morning. They picked us up in buses in San Antonio at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was wearing slacks and a button up and had my suitcase. That's all I had. And I went ahead and got a short haircut. I always had short haircuts. And that's what they were screaming at me. Are you GQ? Did you think getting a haircut before you got here? I mean, it's stupid shit. They were
Yeah.
trying to break you uh, to weed you out right then. And we had one poor kid that ended up in med hold on psychiatric hold because of that night.
Oh my god, that's terrible. Holy shit.
Well, he was obviously the poorest person I'd ever seen in my life. He was literally, it was like he came out of the Dust Bowl. He was wearing broke down cowboy boots and he was carrying saddlebags for his luggage.
Oh dang.
And he was a little small, scrawny, goofy looking kid. And they just ripped him apart. He was crying by the time they were done.
Damn.
Yeah.
That seems unnecessary.
No, because getting shot at's a lot worse.
Like it was probably more well yeah, but dang though.
Well, the recruiters should have weeded him out. You know what I mean?
But making it bad enough that he had to go to psychiatric hold, that's pretty bad, dude.
Well, but that's the thing. It depends on your personal threshold, right? Stick. Drank so much I became toxin masculinity. That's good. Um, so yeah, it's a threshold. They didn't yell at him or say anything to him. They didn't yell at the rest of us, right? Um, so it's about the threshold, the stress threshold. That's what they are. That's what basic training is there to do, is to push your stress threshold. You're not. That's why they wake you up randomly in the middle of the night. You go and run in the middle of the night. You're constantly like, for example, we would go eat. This is a really good story. When you went to eat, you had to get in line and walk down. You just took whatever they gave you. You didn't get to pick your food, right? And then you had to go and stand at the table until all four sides of the table was full, and then you sat down in unison. Trying to get you used to regulation, basically. But when you walked to your table, you had to walk in front of the whole group of the drill instructors sitting there eating. And it was like walking by, we called it the Cobra Pit because when you walk by it, they would scream obscenities and trash you as you walk to your desk, as you
Oh
walk to
shit.
go sit down and eat. And it's to get you used to aggressiveness and ignore it, right? To be able to distinguish the aggressive yelling and stuff for blustering and it doesn't matter to what's really the threat. And then 2 hour chow lines. But we had a guy in our flight, and we call them flights because of Air Force instead of platoons, um, or squads. We call them flights. Um, was British, and the reason he joined the Air Force was to become an American citizen because that's one of the paths to becoming a citizen is to join the military. They made that poor guy. His name was Gregory or something, but they called him James Bond. And every time he walked by the table, they would make him stop, put his plate down on the ground, salute, and then they would say it. And he would go, "Sir, my name is Bond, James Bond." And then they would let him get his food and go eat every meal.
Oh my god.
And he
I'd be
was the
so
nicest guy on the planet. But they just got a kick out of it. And
Oh
I
my
asked him if it bothered him once. He goes, "Are you kidding me? They leave me alone because of it."
god.
He's like, "All I got to do is say Bond, James Bond, and they leave me the heck alone." So, but the Air Force is set up a little differently than some of the other ones. For example, we had all of our classes were co-ed. So we had a sister flight that lived upstairs above us in the building in the dorms, and we ended up not graduating on time because the whole building got crabs because the KP guys washed all of our sheets with the girls' sheets, and they were specifically told not to do that because it's a huge problem on base. Because these people are coming from all over the world, right? They're coming from all over the place, and some of them are not necessarily clean or never have been taught to be clean.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so we all had to wait 2 extra weeks and get checked out by the uh, med hold before we could graduate. And I swear they were this close to saying no more women on base. Just have a separate base because it's that bad. It went on that bad.
Dang. I holy shit.
Yeah. So the last, I'd say I had 6 weeks left. No, I had 4 weeks left, and I was cleaning the landing just outside of our door to our dorm. And these are buildings that were built in the 30s, right? So they're all stone and cold, and the fire extinguisher. Obviously, there wasn't a code for a fire extinguisher when the building was built. So they had to have a fire extinguisher in every entryway. All they did was attach a 2x4 block of wood to the wall and set the fire extinguisher on top of it. Well, I'm new, I'm a recruit, and the rule is if anybody regular military walks in, you stand at attention. And say, "Sir, Airman so and so reporting is ordered." That's to get you used to military way. Well, I'm scrubbing the floor, doing busy work, and our squadron commander comes in. So I stand up to go to attention and stand right into that 2x4 with a bald head. The next thing I know is my commanding officer, which nobody has ever spoken to directly. He's always up on the stage telling us stuff. I see his head over me, and I see my tech sergeant's, my drill instructor's head over me, and his name was Staff Sergeant Fears. He was a 7'3" bald black man with bug eyes.
That's tall.
His name was Fear.
I
His
bet.
literal name was Fear. And so are you all right, Airman? Are you all right? And I'm like, sir, Airman Sisk reports his order. And the captain is like, if another word comes out of your mouth other than I'm okay or I need to go to the hospital, I'm going to kick your ass. Are you okay? I'm like, I think so. My head hurts. And of course, I'm laying in a pool of blood because I cut my scalp. Right.
Oh.
So I got a 3 days in the hospital and 37 stitches in my top of my head.
Yeah.
And that was about that was the most excitement I thought I would have in the military. At least I hoped. I mean, I was a tech. I wasn't supposed to be fighting nobody, you know.
Right.
But in 1995, when I went in the military, base pay for an A1C was $800 a month. So, in order to make more money, they needed security police. They were short on security police, so they gave me a $5,000 bonus and $300 more a month to cross train into being a security police officer. And just whenever they were short, they would send me on a 2 week for 2 weeks at a time somewhere else to do guardhouse duty or whatever. And I did that in my first time I did that. I was in Minot, North Dakota in February. It was literally so cold that you couldn't smoke outside the guard hut. You had to smoke inside the guard hut, and they kept bottles of bourbon in there to keep you warm, help keep you warm. Because if you walked outside and tried to light your cigarette, it would freeze the cherry out.
Oh shit.
The air was so cold it would freeze your cherry off before you got to take a few puffs. Yeah. And they
That
kept
is
bourbon in the guardhouse.
that's too cold.
Yeah. Um, but in toward the end, I think I had like a year left. Because I was an AWACS tech, I had to go to Saudi a lot, Kuwait and Saudi. Like almost every tour was Kuwait or Saudi or Turkey. And because we sold the technology to the Saudis of the AWACS and the Japanese, and but only we were allowed to work on them. So I think I had like 3 days left in Saudi. And at the time we were in Tent City because it was after they bombed the hotel there in town in Riyadh. Y'all remember that? You remember that about 97? They bombed
I was like
97, 98.
at 16, I didn't care about much of anything.
Oh, well, I was much older than I guess I'm much older than you. Um, yeah, they needed extra people to watch the guard hut coming into Tent City because we weren't allowed to go into town anymore because they bombed the
Right.
hotel. So we all had to stay in Tent City, and I was put on guard duty. 5 individuals ran up toward the guardhouse
Uh-oh.
and lit Molotov cocktails one day. Like this is like 2 or 3 days before I'm leaving, and our commanding officer told us to open fire because it was
Well,
an
I mean,
imminent threat.
yeah.
So we killed them. Right. We went to
Right.
clear the bodies and their kids, all of them,
Oh,
14, 15 years old.
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn it. I would
I
need a
think I'd
lot of,
almost rather hit my head again.
man, I would need a lot of medication after that.
Well, this is the reason I don't trust psychiatrists.
I didn't say you couldn't grow your own medication. I'm just saying I would need a lot of medication.
Yeah. Well, I anytime there's a shooting like that and you're kind of new, they make you go do a bunch of therapy, and all those hacks wanted to do was talk about my family.
What the fuck does that have anything to do with what just
Yeah,
happened? I'd be
exactly.
like, what is this shit? Like, I
Well,
just
you know
killed
what it is.
a 14-year-old. Why are you asking me about my uncle? Dude, really?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I was abused when I was a child, but I was
That's
abused.
the fact you
uh,
were ordered to shoot someone.
Right, but I was abused by other children. So to me, emotionally, it scarred me really bad. But
Right.
logically, as a rational adult,
They
I
were
can't.
a, they were a threat, and
Well, I
you
can't. Yeah,
strong
I
with it.
can't hold a grudge against those people because they were children. They were 2 years older than me, right? But that kind of stuff, I told them that one time because they were digging, and then I got my security
Almost
clearance
90%
revoked.
with doctors.
They revoked my security clearance because of it.
Oh hell no!
Yep.
I would, and like I said, I'm only like 95% honest with the doctor. 90 sometimes. There's sometimes I won't tell them.
Well, I learned my lesson. Any of those professional jobs in the military, doctor, lawyer, therapist, these are kids that were in ROTC, and the only reason they're sitting there in front of you is because the government paid for their college and they're required to sit there for 8 years.
Dang.
So they don't give a crap. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have handled the military anymore because I know too much.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't meant for it.
Well, it's like the first time that if if uh if I had it to do over again, knowing what I know now, I would have refused the order and just went and disarmed them.
Well, you probably, I mean, you might not have been able to tell they were how young they were from a distance.
Well, we couldn't, but still, we had guns. They had bottles of liquor or gasoline.
Probably gasoline. It's not
Yeah.
too popular to have
Well,
alcohol.
they didn't have liquor. The liquor is outlawed over there.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, it was probably gasoline.
It was gasoline. They got plenty of that, let me tell you. Um, but yeah, we could have taken them into custody without having to hurt them. All they had were bottles of liquid. So, but I'm sure nobody in the states even heard about it.
There's probably a lot we didn't hear about.
Yeah, there
Not something
always
that
are.
report back. Hey, today we had to shoot a bunch of kids. Nah, they want people to be behind the war and back it, and
Yeah.
that's just not a way to get it done.
Well, and I would be one of those people that'd be like, "All right, you're gonna have to throw me in jail because I'm refusing this order." Yeah. And I was watching Tim Pool one night, and he said that he's like, "Man, these people need to if they think an order isn't right, they need to. You can't. You can't just refuse an order.
Actually, you if it's an unconstitutional order, you actually can.
You can, but this is the very definition of uh, immovable object and unstoppable force. The uh, catch 22. It is the
Right.
literal definition of catch 22 because your commanding officer during wartime, if you refuse an order, has the authority to shoot you in the head.
Yeah, but they don't actually do that anymore.
I know some that would.
Given the opportunity, maybe, but like normally, no, because that's at the very least gonna be too much paperwork.
So here's what typically happens when people refuse an order, whether it's a legal order or not. Okay, so the UCMJ says if you commit an act under orders that is unlawful, you should have refused the order. It also says if you refuse any order for any reason whatsoever, you're in violation. So you're damned if you do, damned if you're not. No, it depends on who's judging you, and they
Mm.
always go with the commanding officer. The only reason people got hit for Vietnam era was because reporters showed what happened. That whole refusing an order and thinking that you'll get away with it because it's an unlawful order, that's a myth. They'll find some reason for it to be a lawful order, and you'll find yourself in Leavenworth or what's Oklahoma's? Um,
Tim McAllister.
no, the military prison in Lawton.
Oh. Okay, I know there's one in McAllister. I thought. Oh no, that's
That's a
the right.
federal prison.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, I don't go to
It's a
prison, but
military. The one in Lawton is a military prison on the base.
I know it's Fort Sill.
Yeah,
That's the
Fort
name of the base.
Sill.
I don't know if they call the
Yeah,
jail something different. I don't know.
I only know that because when I was in correctional custody, they made me go and take a tour of it.
Dang.
Yeah, yeah, and it's run by Army, regular Army. So
I mean, it is an army base, so yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't matter what branch you're in. That's where you end up, there
Right.
or Leavenworth. I'm sure there's other smaller ones around, but that's the only one I know about.
Yeah, Leavenworth's the most popular one. I think there's one in San Diego too, but
Yeah,
I don't remember what it's called. I just knew somebody who was possibly going to get sent there, and he was freaking out. Never heard from him again.
yeah.
He got caught with drugs.
Oh, yeah,
They had a guard hanging out in front of his door and his dorm and everything. I was like, dude. It was wild.
yeah,
Yeah, there was a bunch of people got in trouble that year, like because they were all kind of friends. They were all going to these clubs. And they were doing ecstasy and this and that. And not that I wouldn't have, but I tried it, but it just didn't do anything for me. So I was like, me. So like I was like the only one that wasn't actually doing it. Like I think like three got kicked out. I know one had a guard in front of his door. And I was like, y'all are deep shit. And
yeah,
let's see, the other one got kicked out, and I think the other one got kicked out. Like it was nuts. I was like, there goes the people I go to party with. Oh,
yeah,
oops.
yeah. My apparently my stepson, my son's oldest brother, um, goes to raves every other week.
Oh my God, do people still have raves? That's
Yeah,
awesome. They still have like the glow sticks and pacifier.
yeah, but him and his wife are kind of weird. They're she's Antifa. She's openly Antifa. Says she is,
Oh my.
and she's just a stupid little girl. She doesn't really know what she's talking about. It's just all her friends think it's cool. Um, but we were watching like Asmongold play WoW the other day as a WoW streamer, and she walked past and heard him say like three words about the game, and she said he's a white supremacist. I'm like, you people are really deranged.
Oh my God. What did he say about the game?
Oh, he was just talking about the the raid they were doing and what they had to do. But I guess it was his tone, the way he talked. I don't know. The fact that he
Wow.
was a white dude.
Okay, so he's a supremacist by his tone of voice.
I guess. I don't know. But
That's some weird
anyway,
shit.
I looked at Taylor. I said, "Is she kidding?" He goes, "No, she's kind of crazy that way."
He
I'm
knows
like,
she's
"Okay."
still dipping his pen in the ink. What the fuck?
She's really, really pretty.
Maybe, she got that pretty privilege. Ah,
She's really, really, really pretty. And
I've
he's
known
only like 25.
it's like girls who are pretty, they can get away with acting like absolute assholes and being completely nuts. And
Yep.
like a girl who's like meh looking, like
For a while. They can get away with it for a while. But once they let themselves go, that shit ain't going to happen.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but like yeah, media like a okay looking girl, like she better walk on eggshells.
Well, and I know that she doesn't really believe that shit because she treats me like a second father, and I'll go over there with my Trump hat on.
Well, sometimes you gotta be smart enough to pick your fights.
Yeah, I guess so. I do it on
Mm-hmm.
purpose too. And Taylor asked me once why I did it. I said I want her to have a conversation with me. And if that causes her to have a conversation, then we can have a conversation. But it's telling me right now she doesn't believe in what she's saying because she doesn't even
Or
care.
she doesn't want to have that conversation with you because she wants to stay liking you.
Or or she knows I would destroy her logic.
There is that possibility.
But I don't push it
Especially
on
if
them
there's
either. I mean, I'm not like a lot of other people. You got to vote for Trump. You got to. I'm like, it's cool you believe that. I just disagree with you.
right.
I
Yeah,
don't call her.
voters' remorse right now. They're like,
Oh,
we only voted because we want that $2,000 check. We didn't want you to bomb Syria,
well, that's what he chose to do instead.
right? I mean,
I
they're
don't think
working
we're
on
going to get it.
it now. Like I think it passed one place and it's going on to the next. But still, like I didn't like.
If you look at the stuff that's in there, the Republicans
I
are
even
never going to
tagged him
vote
on
for it.
Twitter, like Biden. And I was like, dude, we're supposed to be anti-war. This isn't what nobody wanted this.
No, they want it. It's their
Yeah,
money lining their
right?
pockets. So he shuts down the Keystone pipeline so that we have to do without gas and oil. But the whole purpose of this is to open a Qatar pipeline so that the Middle East can send their oil up into Europe or their natural gas up into Europe.
Uh,
And I know why. I mean, what it is to cut the legs out from under Russia.
yeah, because a lot of oil comes from Russia. You know, a lot of people don't
Well, all
realize
the
it.
natural gas in the UK in Europe comes from Russia. And they're trying to cut them out. And they have to have this land in Syria in order to do it.
I wonder if the Russians are going to get involved and try to stop the bombing in Syria.
That's the problem. The only thing the Russians can do to us is launch their weapons. Because
Well, if Russia was attacking another country, what would we do?
if we wanted to get involved, we would
Well,
probably use convention.
so if they're doing this to do this to Russia, then Russia
Our
technically
current
would
administration, our current
retaliate.
administration would sit and let them do it.
Well, no, I meant in general, though. In general, not
What would we
necessarily.
do? We would probably fight a proxy war.
Exactly, and so like if the Russians do, I can't really blame them. Anybody stupid enough to go over there and voluntarily go bomb Syria, kind of, watch
Yeah.
out.
Well, it's just that the Russians aren't really a threat to us unless they're willing to push the game over world button.
Well, they'd be stopping one of their allies from being attacked, which is what we're doing. We normally do if our allies are being
I
attacked.
get that, but through conventional weapons, they can't compete with us. They don't have the numbers.
I, I, they might.
No, it's not the Soviet Union anymore.
Yeah, but like a lot of people don't like America.
I know, but they don't have. We have our military might is greater than that of China's.
I wouldn't underestimate Russia. These are people who drink. Their tap water is made out of vodka. I wouldn't underestimate them.
I know, I'm not, but I'm saying that there's only so much they can do. I mean, we outnumber them probably 100-1. I mean, Russia is not as big as the Soviet Union was. The Soviet Union could compete with us, but Russia can't.
Well, remember, for one, Russia is very sneaky and very good at being sneaky, and two, our administration is a bunch of probably nutty cowards. So
well, that's the
if
thing.
people are retaliated against a little bit, they'd probably like, oh shit.
Here's the thing. The people that are allied are not Syria and Russia. People that are allied are Iran and China. And Syria is just a proxy for Iran. And Russia just backs Iran and Syria not because they're allies, but because they want to oppose anything we want. I think it's Venezuela, Iran, North Korea, and China are all allied together.
Oh boy.
Yeah. At least the last I knew. I don't know for sure, but that's the last I read.
Man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I gotta go get him. Mom left me her Jeep yesterday, so I can actually go somewhere and get some brownie and See if it makes me pass out.
Well, remember to hydrate and eat real food first and not have a lot of brownie. I mean, you could like wait 15, 20 minutes, maybe like, oh, I'm not feeling anything. Still don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Don't fall. Because as
Yeah,
soon as you stand, you just might feel it.
I got a gallon and a half, one of the great big bottles of Ozarka this afternoon. So, because I dehydrate really quick.
Me too. I mean,
In
it's part of my
fact,
medication, but yeah.
I was going to get me a Keurig so I could drink coffee all night, but I got me a ground coffee maker that comes with its own travel mug. It fits right into it. I'm
Oh,
going
how
to set
cute.
it on my desk, and it's just a 14-ounce cup. You just put it in there, turn it on, get your 14 ounces of coffee in 5 minutes without having to use Keurig. So
And carrots are cute, but it creates a lot of waste over
the
time.
thing about Keurig is they're hard to clean once they get dirty.
Ooh, I didn't think about that, but yikes.
Yeah, like if you don't keep the filter cleaned, and hardly anybody does, you get like growths and stuff in those tanks.
You know,
Yeah, so I was gonna buy me a single cup Keurig, because they're $80 and it's just one cup. Like you pour your cup of water in there and that's all it'll do. It's just the one cup at a time. Uh, but this thing was $20 and ground coffee's fresher anyway. So I can't wait. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. But that's what I have to, if I don't, I'm trying to cut soda off completely because that's the last sugary thing I have a problem with.
yeah,
And
I
I like
do
black
so.
coffee with honey. I could
Yes.
put a
Oh
couple
my
of
gosh,
teaspoons.
dang. Yes,
Yeah.
honey and black coffee. That is me.
Yeah. Because honey is low fructose syrup, or it's got low fructose sugar in it, which
Right.
doesn't affect your sugar levels
It
of
doesn't
diabetes.
as much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you're allowed to eat temperate fruit, but not tropical fruit.
Huh.
That's why, like, if you grab berries, they're tart. They're not really sweet. That's why people macerate them in sugar. Um, Pears and apples, they're sweet, but they're not super, super sweet. But oranges are super sweet. Bananas are super sweet. Anything tropical has high fructose sugar in it. So it's just a good thing. And like I've never liked baked goods ever, so that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, pasta and soda, that's what kills me.
Yeah, bread is amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Bread product type stuff is good.
But like growing up, I never even ate any of my birthday cakes because I just never liked cake. I didn't like the texture of it.
Oh, weird. I love birthday cake.
Like I would eat the ice cream, but I wouldn't eat cake.
Well, I eat those
And I
shit.
think part of it was that I don't like frosting because it's too sweet.
Oh yeah, I hate.
When I was a kid, it made me
I
sick.
like to take most of the frosting off the cake before I eat it.
Yeah, when I was a
Oh
kid, frosting would make me sick, which should have told me I was going to be a diabetic when I grew up. But we were all clueless, I guess. But anyway, I guess I'll let you go. I've taken up what? What have we done? 2 hours now?
yes, it seems like it.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming.
You always
Uh,
fun hanging.
I had a good time, and hopefully next time I'll be a little bit more. I'll have some videos and stuff, and I have some stuff to talk about. This was kind
Nice.
of like a trial thing. Eventually, I want people to come on and read their work.
Sorry, there's stoners coughing.
Oh, I eventually want people to come on and read their stories. You know, because we can all create something. Even a badly written story, the core of the idea might be really, really good.
Right.
You know, especially with people just getting started. So I want to encourage that because we need more creators. They can't keep remaking everything forever.
Yeah, we gotta replace Hollywood.
Yep. So anyway, thank you very much. You, as always, are lovely. And chat. thank you guys for hanging out with us. I know it can be kind of boring, but hopefully I'll get better at this as time goes on.
Some people like not a calm stream.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys.